very good morning to you. Welcome to Smart Means Business. I am your host, Godwin Batuma Cheune, and you're welcome to Smart Where Smart, where we drive business, isn't it? I am joined by our beautiful host, Charlotte, this morning. We have so many guests all over the world. What do we have to say to them?
Good morning to you. Good morning to our beautiful viewers. Thank you for joining us this morning. And of course, we'll be driving until 10 a.m. And of course, I hope you had a lovely night, a lovely evening yesterday, and a lovely day yesterday. So today we'll be starting the day like always, and we'll be driving you through the morning. Well, Andrew, tell me about your day yesterday. How was it?
It was a beautiful, beautiful morning. But obviously, I'm just grateful for all the people that are tuning in yesterday. I know people tuned in from our YouTube live page yesterday. Yes. We had people tuning in from Congo. Bonjour, mes amis. J'espère que vous êtes très bien à cet matin. And we have people coming in from Tanzania.
From Kenya, Tanzania. Asante kwa kama mnatuona sahi. Of course, we love you so much, and keep it here on Smart 24. And do not change the channel. Do not change the channel.
Today we're talking about the funding landscape, especially for entrepreneurs.
Yes.
I mean, it's an interesting one for me because we talked about it briefly yesterday about of course, we talked about the gap that's happening, the wealth gap in Uganda, but particularly for young people who are coming into business, right? The young startup people who that are really starting to do their businesses, like detergents, soap manufacturers, people that are really building the business landscape in Uganda. But unfortunately, there's such a low funding for them right now.
Yes.
And we're trying to figure out what could be the issue and what are the tips that you can best give them to be able to access this funding from big entrepreneurs as well. I mean, I attended the Uma Showground, as we talked about, and was able to see so many young entrepreneurs do their thing. Young people coming into the business, but the biggest issue was funding.
Yes.
What is the issue with funding for most young entrepreneurs? We briefly talked about it yesterday.
Yes. You see, with the youth today, it's not like how it used to be before. You would enter a company, and from the reception to the last person in the office, you would find the youngest person in that office is like 45 years or 39. But today, you can find the youngest person in the company is actually 17 or 18. And you would wonder, because these days, I don't know if we are brought up in a different way, but these days people or the youth are clever. We have the internet, they have a lot to access, so you find someone being a job creator at a very young age. And the problem is, yes, the person might have the funding personally, but you end up finding that this person has started the company or the business that they are putting up to be an employer, to give other people jobs, but you find that the taxes, the money they have to pay to have this company to be going on is a lot from the government.
And that's an interesting thing, because we talked about foreigners, right? Foreign investment, and how almost like seemingly the government seems to have taxes exemptions given to the foreign businesses, where they have tax holidays given to them, and a lot of our young startups aren't given. Because when I saw Uma, there were so many young people who are doing electric cars, batteries, detergents, herbal medicine, herbal toothpaste that aren't supported, and they were crying, I am not funded enough. And according to a Daily Monitor article, we see here almost a quarter of the survey respondents, we see here that cited that access to finance as the biggest obstacle they face ahead of all other challenges. Even if they succeed at accessing finance, they often find the interest rates are really high.
Yes.
So you find that the interest rates as well for the business owners are really high, which discourages a lot of young people who have business ideas to get into business.
Yes.
I don't know, why do we focus so much on funding other people except for our own and our young entrepreneurs?
Well, I feel like we don't believe in ourselves as Africans, because I remember back in the day we had a child, I think that was like 6 years back. This child actually tried to make an aeroplane. And before you knew it, the child disappeared from the scene. Then people were asking, how comes the government, every time we have young people doing things, trying to bring new things to show that Uganda actually has talented youth, they end up being put down by the government itself, because the government actually sometimes shows they're actually going to pay. I don't know if it's the people around Musei, or it's the government itself, or the rules, or anything, because you find these youth, the president himself can say, I'm going to help the youth. And usually it ends in the speech. The youth usually come out after they're like, you know, the president say they're going to give us this, they're going to put this organization, and before you know it, the youth are complaining that the funding that they were actually promised is not given.
Or adequately managed, right? Sometimes I think what happens is the level of corruption in the country the person who's supposed to be handling the funding for these young startup businesses, the one that's handling it solely, there's no checks and balances. Unfortunately, I feel there's so much corruption. So omuntu gwe badde sente agambye tuweeko kano tukuweeko kali. They've taken half of the budget before they give it to these young startup people, and they give them incredibly high interest rates for young people. If I'm starting out, do you know the reason why most Ugandans aren't registering their businesses? Why? Because they're thinking, why should I pay taxes to the government? Yes. Why should I have my business registered in URA? The young businesses that I've found over 5 years, 6 years, that have not been paying taxes. Because they're thinking, why should I pay taxes? I've just started my tours and travel company. So you want me to be paying taxes, half my income in a year of just starting the business, I am paying back. So most Ugandans are not registering their businesses because of this same issue. So they're not documented, all these things. Because I think if you document, you're going to start taking a lot of money from my pockets, and I'm not starting to make it. So we have to find policies that are able to be more favorable, especially for young business, young entrepreneurs, don't you think? Yes, and most of the businesses we have around Kampala, you can find shops, because like after you're done working here, you can find yourself, you have a shop out there, so you go and sit in the shop. But most youth around Kampala are saying they don't want to have a shop in town. They don't want to have a company or a factory, because at the end of the day, the taxes they pay are double or triple what they are supposed to be getting. Because you make liquid soap. For example, you say 1 liter of that liquid soap, you're going to be selling it to the people 10,000, and then at the end of the day, by the time you're done producing that liquid soap, you might end up selling it 25,000, and people might not buy it because it's what? It's very high. And then liquid soap from abroad will come to Uganda and it will be cheaper. Or a foreign investor will come and make the liquid soap and sell it at 10,000, and you can't sell it at 10,000 because you've import a lot. And that's such a good point. And that's why there's lack of value addition. So you find that most Ugandans, because they're trying to make bank or they're trying to break even, they won't do the best kind of quality products. And that's the most unfortunate thing, because we have so many good quality products in Uganda. But unfortunately, without funding, someone is going to try and cut corners to make sure that, okay, this liquid soap might not have enough lather, because if I do this, I'm going to spend a lot more money on this. So because of this lack of funding, you end up making bad quality. Poor quality. And there isn't any sustainability for the business. So you find that a lot of businesses are coming in, but after 2, 3, 4 years, the businesses are breaking off. I think because there's also a lack of knowledge on how to be able to sustain a business effectively in Uganda for young entrepreneurs. I think there should be more schools. Remember we talked about yesterday how there's not enough investment classes. There's not enough, because someone can start, a young entrepreneur can say, I want to start my detergent business, but has no idea how to finance, how to build the business, how to outsource. They're not thinking that way. So if someone comes in and gives them those business tips and advice, and this is how you can be sustainable for the next 20, 30 years. This is how you can grow your business, how you can build your business. We do not have enough of those classes. So omuntu agenda more business with just the mindset, I want to make money, I want to get out of poverty. That's it. But there's no sustainability classes, which why I insisted. We need to have money classes in school. And that's the biggest issue. Why are we so afraid? Isn't that going to make our children get money-minded? And by the time they get to P5, P6, they're like, Mommy, I don't want to finish school. You know what? I think I'm ready. They'll do what Mark Zuckerberg did. Yes, he finished school, but he started at a very young age. A lot of people will be quitting school, which kills the narrative that we have. Because you know how Ugandans were all about education. Repeating a class in Uganda, Charlotte, it's like you've killed someone. Well, imagine your friends are in the next class and you're here. And you're there. It feels so bad. People pay extra money just to make sure that, listen, they have to go through school, which becomes quite unfortunate, but you're going through school without any knowledge of finance. Someone is doing social science. And what's interesting now is, because the world has changed so much and everything is becoming cashless, we talked about it yesterday with, I think it was a Direx fund, the Direx, what's it called, a coin that Brazil is going to do. Everything is becoming cashless, everything is becoming completely AI. The world has changed. There's some courses that aren't even as marketable anymore. You can't go to school and say, oh, I'm going to focus on education, I'm going to focus on social sciences, because they're thinking, that doesn't make any sense for me. In the workforce, how am I going to start to make money? And that's one of the things that's happening, is we don't have enough courses on entrepreneurship, on really understanding entrepreneurship, not just the understanding entrepreneurship, but really getting to the nitty-gritty of how someone can become a really grow.
And to make it more practical to someone, because the more you keep it theoretical, usually someone can be like, okay, I'm supposed to do this, do that, but when you make it more practical, it is better. And the youth we have these days, if you've noticed, most of the youth we have that are employed everywhere, they're not doing the jobs they studied for. They're actually doing what they love, what their talents are. Because at the end of the day, I have done a business course, and at the end of the day, let's say I love farming. I'll end up going to the farm, but I did business. Or I love doing makeup on people, but I did what? I did what? I'm a doctor. I graduated as a doctor. So at the end of the day, you find that most of the youth are studying because they have to study, but they know at the end of the day, I'm not going to work in that field because it doesn't work like that.
And I wanted to ask you, Charlotte, as a woman in this field, do you think there's any disparities in terms of funding or accessing finance or accessing funding for the women and as opposed to the men, especially for the young entrepreneurs who are coming up? Is it harder for the more marginalized communities? Because I believe there is that disparity that we have for young women entrepreneurs. And there's so many young, especially since things have changed so much, there's so many young entrepreneurs that are coming into the space, but they're not being able to access funding, or most people who are funding are like, how
it's
are they going to build their business?
How is she going to do it?
Do you find any setback in that space?
Well, when it comes to that, most women usually, you might find the person who is supposed to give them funding can be like, she's a woman, how is she going to do it? But you find that most of the youth, the young ones we have here in Uganda that are successful, it is mostly women. Most of the companies you go to, CEOs, young women, 23, 28 years old, they are bosses to people who are 40, 35 years. So at the end of the day, you find that these fundings, there's a big challenge, but at the end of the day, if as a woman, you should study more, maybe. The more you study, maybe as a woman, you'll be respected out there.
Right.
Yes.
And that's a really good point, of course, being able to seek business development ideas from organizations and agencies. There's so many agencies out there that have come up that are able to help you with entrepreneurship ideas, business funding, but also taking that course, taking an entrepreneurship course, understanding where to invest, how best to invest, and how to grow a business is extremely important, because I feel like that's where we miss out, is not understanding the business. You just go in straight without any knowledge, and that's a big problem.
Yes, it is a very big problem.
Yeah.
And of course, the government has the YLP, which is the Youth Livelihood Program. These are usually the foundations that are usually put there for young girls in villages. At least the government is trying, because there's the YLP, the YLF. So these are usually put in villages. They put programs. They go, they teach the youth. They say, we're going to put this program. It's there for 6 months. It's going to help the young women, the young boys. They teach them engineering. They teach the girls how to sew, how to make soap, or something like that. At least in those urban, rural areas, at least we have evidence that the government is actually trying, which is in the urban areas, it's very rare. You find that these organizations that are actually put, they mostly work in the rural areas.
Which is an interesting thing, right? We have this mindset where people in the central or in the urban areas do not need this kind of knowledge. They're going to school, so let's educate those people in the rural areas. I talked about it yesterday, where vocational studies. A lot of someone was painting the house that I was at was paying me for all the items in the house. And I was like, how do you make this money? He says, I make this money daily when I'm just painting houses. And I'm thinking, you have access to this kind of money, and then someone who's working a normal job at 9 to 5 is waiting for 1 million shillings at the end of the month.
1 million?
500.
250 or 300.
250.
Yes.
And how much has he been using from the 1st to the 31st? This person is making 300,000 a day.
But the good news is, with the census that has started, that is going to go on, 120,000 youth are set to be employed by the government, because of course they have the tabs. They're going to need young minds to do all these things. You're not going to find someone who is 45, 55 going to house by house. How old are you? How many are you? So they need young, vibrant people. So the youth out there are going to be applying, and they're going to be getting jobs.
And I also know, of course, for the oil and crude industry, there's set to have 1,700 jobs for the youth that should be taken on in terms of non-skilled and skilled labor as well. People are going to be employed in that space, which is an interesting thing, at least for us, to be able to get the youth employed. But also, just out of that employment space, we also need to have more young people thinking outside the box. Yesterday we talked about how we can get a young person in your store to count the numbers, to break down the numbers, paying suppliers. Those are small things that we can start to do that can really empower our young youth. It's teaching them about money, how to manage money, how to grow money, how to save money. And that's another thing. Some of these SMEs, which are or agencies that have been put in place, especially in the rural areas, are teaching them how to save their money as well. So as you're an entrepreneur, you're taught there's money to spend, but there's some money that you have to be able to keep, to be able to, for a rainy day as well, which is quite important.
Yes, and of course we look at so many youth in Uganda. You know, Uganda has the largest population. We have the fastest growing population. And of course we have so many clever youth. But if you've noticed, we have so many businesses that start up. But how long do they take? How long do they survive after they've started? The issue is many of the youth are job creators, but at the end of the day, they've made these companies, they've put up these things, they're employing everyone. But how long is this going to last? The taxes, the money they have to spend. At the end of the day, you find they have to import things, and the taxes they have to pay, they are in a lot of money. So these people they've employed, yes, I've employed you, I have to give you 600,000. And with time, the bosses will start saying, you know what, we have to cut the money, we have to cut back on the workers. We've been having 6 now, so now we need 2. And before you know it, this business collapses.
Right, it's an interesting one. So we have to really talk about sustainability, and we have to look into that. Otherwise, that's an interesting conversation that we're going to continue having throughout the day. But we're going for a short break, and we'll be back with the press review. Welcome back from that short break. We're getting into what's happening and the highlights that are happening in the Daily Monitor as well as the New Vision. So we see here in the New Vision, we're having IGAD issues locust alert for Uganda as one of the top things. And then we also have Parliament tells of Bobby over claim government plans to bribe MPs. What's happening on your side?
Well, here in the New Vision, we have 2024 census, 120,000 jobs up for grabs, just like I told you. And of course, they expect the applicants to be tech savvy. So you have to be having some IT idea and everything. So they're going to all apply.
And I love that we're getting into that space where we're focusing on IT development, because we're getting into an AI space. Everything is going to become completely digital, completely internet savvy. So we have to be internet savvy. There's no excuse. Well, I'm 60, I'm old, Richie. We have to understand how to use technology. So that's a good one.
So also the World Bank offers 17.5 billion shillings to restore 13 forests in Western Uganda. And that is very good news.
That's interesting, right? Because I know personally from my mother, she had to, as soon as she retired at 50, one of the places she invested in for my NSSF fund was in forestry. Because I think that's the kind of money that pays in the next 10 years.
Yes.
So we also have ceasefire in Congo as UPDF withdraws. So we see here the Uganda People's Defense Forces has withdrawn hundreds of its troops deployed in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo under a regional initiative. That's more you can find out in the Daily Monitor.
Yes, of course, here we have something interesting that I read that actually made me smile. The alcohol bill came out, and the brewers petitioned government over 4.2 million jobs. And a person who sells alcoholic drinks without displaying health warning messages in a consumptious place commits an offence and is liable to a fine not exceeding 20 million shillings of or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 10 years.
Wait, please explain that. So is it similar to how other countries have those cigarette packages and they have like pictures of people with
cancer and everything, so they want that to be on the beer bottles.
Because I lived in Malaysia quite a bit, and you know that a lot of the Indians love to smoke. They literally love to smoke. And every package had people torn out necks, but let me tell you,
they always buy them and they still smoke.
Smoked more. They smoked more even after
So that
is going to help impede maybe the younger people who are like, listen, maybe I shouldn't drink, but the older generation won't.
Well, UN Entebbe-based virtual training hub to strengthen peacekeeping. And of course, NATO's involvement in the peacekeeping training is part of the defense and related security capacity and building package to enhance peacekeepers' operational performance and safety.
Excellent. So right now we're getting into our press review with Andrew Berger. Andrew, good morning. What's happening on the road?
Thank you, Charlotte and Godwin, and definitely coming live here at the Fairway Traffic Lights Junction. Definitely taking an observation when it comes to the traffic atmosphere. How it is like on this Wednesday morning, quite a very cool and mid-cloudy morning for the day, but definitely, as you can really observe the situation down there, it's quite free for any people that are actually likely to head to the destinations that are connecting to this very route. Now, that is the John Babiha route you were getting to observe right there. So that's approximately about 5 to 7 minutes of the time that you're going to be spent, in here before you're set free to head to any other different destination. Now, of course, majority of these vehicles link all the way straight. If you actually continue along this route, that is you land towards the Acacia Mall next to the Kamocha roundabout, which also links in within the Kanjecha Street. So for the residents of that side and you planning to come to the city center, it's quite okay. You will be able to reach in time. And of course, despite the fact that there is quite a number of traffic lights still inflated on this very route, the John Babiha route, maybe that could be the only delaying factor for you. But as of closer to the Fairway Hotel, it's quite very okay, as you can clearly observe. 5 to 7 minutes, and it's the traffic officers definitely in full control of the vehicles around to make sure everything moves on very, very, very perfect. That is it like there. All right, now away from the John Babiha route, we can switch our eyes and take a closer look at the Yusuf Lule Road, which is also sparsely congested this morning. There are quite very, very few vehicles now. Definitely, I'm talking about people that are coming in from Mulago area. You come from the Mulago area, Wandagea area, and maybe you're coming towards this particular side, and you could be actually heading towards the Ginger Road, where Ginger Road links up with Kampala, and maybe you're heading to Nakawa. Well, still the same, 5 minutes maximum, the time that you're going to spend into the delay, into the traffic jam. Still 3 to 5. Actually, this time around it might be a little bit fairer. The only issue here, the only factor is how is it like at the Wandagea roundabout and the area close, that is Kubiri, close to Prophet Kakande's church, which is normally also heavily congested with vehicles in this early morning. And of course, it's due to the poor roads that are associated in there. Actually, at that roundabout, there is almost where there is mud. The road is muddy. In other words, it's muddy. So that is key to the congestion in that area. But definitely, if you survive that, you head to the Mulago route, and then you cross over, you come straight here towards the fairway traffic lights. Well, it's going to be easy for you. I mean, you could proceed to Chibuli. Some are probably proceeding to Chibuli despite the constructions that are happening still around those areas, most especially around the access road. And some are actually heading towards Nakawa, but using this particular route. It's quite okay, because when you link straight up to the Garden City, it's a free lane. There is no, I mean, when you get out of this traffic, there is no other traffic till you reach the Airtel roundabout, that is next to Port Bell Road, and you can proceed efficiently. It's quite okay. That is if you decide to stick on this route and you link towards there. So you can definitely see that. Let's take a look at the Kafu route. The Kafu route definitely also links you straight to Wandagea. Most especially if you're not sure of the roundabout at Mulago, you can actually branch up there. It could actually save you some time, and it does actually not could. It really does save time, because you never know what's going to be happening around the Mulago roundabout. There could be quite some huge congestion, and that could actually be detrimental rather when it comes to your arrival. Timely arrival. So you can definitely see that the Kafu Road is very friendly. Same applies to the Seziwa Road, of course, which takes you straight to the Nakasero side, for most especially those people that are probably heading towards the city center, and you're coming in from the John Babiha Road. You can actually use the Seziwa Road. It can link you straight. Same applies to Kafu. It's free always. Even Seziwa Road is always free, as you can actually really observe. Now we can actually take a look at those people that are leaving, that is from the Yusuf Lule Road, and they are heading towards, of course, coming towards Garden City. You can see that is okay. Now those coming in from Yusuf Lule Road and heading towards, that is heading towards Wandegea, it is still free for you. You will just be held for about 3 minutes, actually. Yeah, you're coming in from Zambia, you're coming in from Chibuli, you're coming in from Nakawa, you're coming in from Ginger Road, and you definitely have a plan to head towards Wandegea. Or you could be even thinking of heading to the city center. Maybe you could actually use that. You could branch off somewhere and use the Sinziwa Road, and you drop to the city center. Though that could be a little bit of a longer route, you could just link straight to the Kampala Road and proceed efficiently. But it's free, you know, it's very free. And you can see it's not heavily inflated with vehicles, according to my observation. So it's a smooth movement for that personnel that is coming in from the Ginger Road area and is proceeding, heading towards, coming towards Wandegea. The traffic officers definitely in full control of the vehicles, and the beauty about the street is that there is not really a lot of, talking about pedestrians actually. Pedestrians and the border is a little bit minimal, and there is absolute adherence that is to the traffic lights. Actually, I've been observing somebody here whom the vehicles had actually been had been set free by the officer, but I think somebody had laid into the line, and the traffic officer had gone out of, he had gone out of character in some kind of a way to make sure that he puts the situation back in order. But of course, it's quite very definite, and it's very important. Because sometimes there is, most especially the borders, and some few public vehicle drivers tend to be a little bit stubborn, most especially in the morning hours like this. Well, of late, maybe as we're heading towards the festive season, it could be that there is a reduction in the pressure. There is not really much work pressure. Of course, unlike in those other days where it's always a rush hour, and most especially when the schools begin. Yes, that is, explains that. But today, it's quite free and quite friendly. Well, Andrew Barije, and I've been live here at the Fairway traffic lights. Definitely the situation is okay, it's calm. Probably later on in the day, if you delay to leave any of your home and you're heading to any destination, you may probably find a huge congestion at around 8:30 coming tonight. Well, at this point in time, let me take you back to plot 42, Nile Avenue. That is, of course, with Charlotte and Godwin.
Amazing. It looks like the roads aren't too heavy this morning, isn't it, Charlotte?
Compared to yesterday. Monday, today the roads are quite free compared, yes.
It's quite free, because if we're getting towards, we know when it starts getting to Wednesday and Friday, people start to loosen up a little bit within the week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's quite interesting. We're going for a short break, and we shall be back with Karibu East Africa.